Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us today with the Nucamp team. My name is Karim Ludo. I'm a Nucamp CEO, and together with me is Ludo Fourage. He is our Chief Product Officer and our Chief Learning Officer. And together, we're going to spend about an hour today with you. We're going to spend probably about 30 minutes telling you a little bit more about Nucamp and explaining the concept and what you should be expecting. And then we'll save about 30 minutes for questions from you guys. So you can ask your questions through the chat on YouTube, and we'll just go through them one by one. And hopefully you'll learn a lot more about a Nucamp and what you can be expecting after that. So with that, let's get started. I want to just paint a little bit of overview of what Nucamp is all about. It's a new kind of boot camp. It's the most affordable, the most local, and the most flexible online and weekend coding boot camp out there. We have a strong social mission, which is to help every aspiring career shifter to enter the digital economy. And we'll tell you a little bit more about why web development, but web development is the way to get into tech, into development for people who are not necessarily from that background. Our focus is really to offer quality web development education to as many people as possible, in particular people that can't afford a full-time coding bootcamp, people that are not necessarily also in big cities. So we're trying to serve all cities and smaller cities across the US and just making it affordable to as many people as possible. A little more about why the different model that we've implemented. And it really comes from a lot of research and sort of thought, primarily from Ludo, actually, as he was creating the concept on what's available out there. And what's available out there is online boot camps. That's the one sort of easy option. It's very cheap, if not free. It is very flexible because you're really moving through the curriculum at your own pace, and you can do it from everywhere. You don't have to go physically anywhere. However, what we see is that there's just a very low completion rate. It's just very difficult to go through the process of learning to code on your own without any support, without anyone helping you when you're sort of blocked on something. So it works for a few, but for a lot of people, it's a good way to get a taste for coding, but not enough to really acquire the skills that you need to get a job in the industry. So a lot of people then turn to traditional boot camps, look at options out there. Traditional full-time programs are actually quite popular. They are an opportunity for you to really acquire strong skills because you're spending a lot of time in the program. You definitely can do that if you can afford it, if you live in a city that offers it, and if this is something that you're already completely committed to, because it is sort of a risk to some people, want to go through a coding bootcamp, but are still not quite sure whether it's going to be for them. So what Nucamp offers is a hybrid program, something that really sort of solves some of the issues with the two other options. The format is one where you learn online during the week and then you meet in person over the weekend. So it really brings the flexibility of the online programs, but at the same time, it has that fixed structure, that support that traditional boot camps have. And then more importantly, it's affordable. It's less than $2,000. Actually, the early bird price is $1,620. It's in a small group, and it's available in many cities, not just in the big tech hubs. So where are we present today, and what is our offering across the nation? We've been rolling out this program now for about 2 years in Washington State. We have 5 cities that are operating there. We've delivered about 50 boot camps and 200 workshops. We have instructors that are experienced and that have delivered all of our curriculum several times now. And we're excited to bring this outside of Washington State. So we had our first set of web development fundamental boot camps in August. Actually, some students are going through it right now in 7 cities. And we're launching our next set of boot camps on September 9th. And so if you're on the call today, it's probably because you registered or you're interested in one of those boot camps. And beyond that, we'll obviously be rolling out the advanced boot camps starting October, and we'll tell you a little bit about that as well. The boot camps themselves, I mentioned them, are web development fundamentals, which is our intro boot camp, and then a set of advanced boot camps. The beginner boot camp, if you like, is a 4-week boot camp, which is an opportunity to really discover what coding is all about. So it's very suitable for beginners. You don't need to have any sort of prerequisite sort of skills there. Basic high school math is more than enough. And it's really a way for you to decide whether or not you want to go into an advanced boot camp, which is really the curriculum and the program that will give you the skills to get a job. We have 2 of them. Ludo will get into more details. They're 17 to 22 weeks. They go through all of the popular tech stacks that are today in demand in the marketplace. And again, when you complete those boot camps is when you're ready for a junior or an entry-level position in the industry. In terms of the format of the boot camps, they are online during the week. So from Sunday to Friday, you go through videos, go through exercises, work on your portfolio project, which is an important concept that Ludo will tell you a little bit more about. You also have the opportunity to expand beyond the course itself with more resources. And of course, you're supported by your instructor. Your instructor is there throughout the week online to help you if you have difficulties with the curriculum. And so the week is really about preparing for Saturday and the workshop experience. It's a 4-hour workshop in person with your instructor. And it sort of caps the week in terms of skills that you learn. And then every week you unlock the content for the following week. So you got to keep up. It's a lot of work, and it's hard because it's on top of your job. Usually, if you have a full-time job or a part-time job, so you should be ready to invest 1 to 3 hours per day. But with that framework, at the end of the program, you really have gone through the whole skill set that's required. You're going to meet with fellow students and your instructor every Saturday, and we want to make sure you meet in a place that's a positive place in terms of learning experience, in terms of connecting with fellow students and the instructors. So we partner with Coworking Spaces. We tend to choose co-working spaces that also have a strong social mission or that support our social mission. We also tend to select co-working spaces that have a focus on software development. So either they have or they are currently hosting coding boot camps or software development activities or meetups or things like that, or they're connected. And the advantage there is not only is it just a positive environment to be in, but also an environment where you will have the opportunity to network, to connect with people from the development community in your city. So Saturdays 9 to 1. This is one example in Seattle, but we now have locations secured in over 25 cities. And then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ludo to tell you a little bit more about the curriculum itself.
Thank you. Thanks, Karim. So you heard Karim present the 3 bootcamps that we have to offer. And really, those 3 bootcamps are a collection of 5 different modules. So it's kind of a simple way to think about it. The first bootcamp is the first module, the Web Development Fundamentals. And I'll actually use that one to just mention that we are really focusing on web development and the primary language for that, which is JavaScript. And so this first bootcamp really is about giving you the fundamental skills to prepare yourself for the following 2 bootcamps. One of the questions we get quite often is, can I get a job after the web development fundamental bootcamp? The answer is unfortunately no. This is really meant as an introduction, only, quote unquote, only 4 weeks long. And so you would really want to look into the front end or the full stack bootcamp if your intent is to change careers and get a job in the tech industry. So now about the full stack and front end bootcamp, what you will realize here is the full stack bootcamp actually includes the front end bootcamp. And so if you wanted to do everything we have to offer, you will do the web development fundamental and then the full stack, and you will have really covered everything Nucamp has to offer. The difference between front end and full stack, from a pure curriculum standpoint, it is the addition of what we call the backend or server-side module, which has to do with dealing with the data, the databases, the web servers themselves. The other difference is more from a pure skill standpoint and where you find your passion. Front-end developers tend to be more artistic in nature. What I mean by that is because they are really focused on the front end, meaning the end user experience, they tend to be the ones who actually design the look and feel of that experience. And so you see a lot of people who are really interested in expanding their skills in the look and feel of the experience, and they will want to pick front end. Other people like myself who have recognized that designing a website is not what they do best will actually focus on the coding itself, how to build the functions, how to build the systems. And so, of course, the ability to build a front end, a web development, or a mobile app, but also really spending the time and investing in the back end, the server-side aspect. So that's how we recommend you think about those 2 bootcamps, really depending on how much of an artistic vibe you will have. Now, if I go into the details of the modules, as I mentioned, we're teaching JavaScript, which for the past 5 years has been the #1 language in the world, actually, in the industry. So we're not teaching Python. We're not teaching Ruby on Rails or other things like that. We're really focusing on JavaScript. And JavaScript in itself is a very rich environment. You will start with Bootstrap, which was created by the Twitter company, Twitter. And Bootstrap is really meant to enable you to create what we call a responsive website. A responsive website is actually quite simple to understand. You will build a website that looks great on a big screen, let's say a desktop or a laptop, but will look as good on a small device, a phone, a tablet, and you will do that with just writing your code once. So Bootstrap is really the framework that takes care of reorganizing the content on the page so that it will be responsive to the size of your screen. It's a really great introduction to development. It has limitations, obviously, which is it's really just about the presentation. It doesn't handle the logic. It doesn't handle accessing the data and things like that. And so this is why we then teach you React. React was created not too long ago, actually, by Facebook. I think it was 3 years ago, and has really taken the world of JavaScript by storm. It's the #1 framework for JavaScript at this moment. And it does what Bootstrap doesn't do, which is handle the logic, handle the data, make sure that your pages are all connected to one another, and that you are, for example, able to display a list of products, or that you are able to allow your users to log in, or that they can actually add products to a cart. I mean, all the things that you imagine being able to do on a modern website will be what React will enable you to do. The good news is React is actually using Bootstrap as the presentation layer. So really there's a connection here. And then React Native is where I like to say that a little bit of the magic is happening. And the magic I'm talking about is, imagine that you've built a website And now you're going to actually package it. If you're familiar with the concept of a zipping of a set of files, you will actually kind of package it like that. And it will turn almost magically into an application that you can publish on the Apple Store or Google Play Store. And for the end user, it will actually be an application that they will maybe purchase, definitely download onto their device. And then suddenly your website will have access to all the device's capabilities, meaning access to the GPS, access to the camera, access to the accelerometer, being able to display notifications and all of that. So this is really where the power of JavaScript comes into play, and how you can actually, with one language, cover that whole spectrum of experiences. So if you've picked front end, you will stop there. You will have done a lot of work on just purely user experience on a website or on a mobile device. And then obviously the question is, well, where are you going to store all that data? All your user profile information, all your products, where are you going to host it? The cloud or on what we call on-premise? And that's really what we touch on with the last module of Fullstack. And again, the great news is you still use JavaScript here to actually have that, build that capability. So that's the curriculum in a nutshell. Now, what I want to touch on is the portfolio that you're going to build. Most students are asking the question about, okay, what am I really building? Is it just about learning, or am I doing stuff and building stuff as well? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And not just one portfolio project, but many. The first thing I want to say is, you've heard Karim talk about the weekly workshop. That weekly workshop actually builds upon one another. So you will go into much depth, because throughout the 22 weeks or throughout the 17 weeks, you're going to keep adding layers and complexity to your application, a web application or a mobile application. And that's going to be what we call the learning project. But then on top of that, you're going to build your own project on your own, or we recommend in a group. You're going to start with Bootstrap. And typically, you're going to look at what we teach you and kind of tweak it a little bit. And maybe you have a nonprofit organization that you want to help, and you can actually use that as an example. And then we're going to ask you to move that portfolio project to React, add all the business logic, add the data manipulation. And then we say optionally, again, move it to React Native. Some students decide to stick with React and go very deep in React. Other students are like, yeah, I want to try with my own portfolio project to actually implement it as a mobile app as well. And then at the end, no matter what you've decided to do for number one and number two, you will want to add the backend services to it. So again, 2 or 3 portfolio projects with a weekly progression to those. The bootcamp schedule. So as Karim mentioned, we actually started the ones on August 5th in set additional cities outside Washington. They are actually learning right now. It's in the 3rd week. And the next one is going to be September 9, where you live. And so I recommend that you look into it. We have an early bird rate that takes out $60 of the price, and it's available up to next Monday. So if you are interested, definitely we recommend that you register before Monday next week to get the current tuition price of $320. After Monday, it will go up to $380. Only a $60 difference. Maybe some of you actually will want to take more time to think about it, but it's quite interesting to know. The next thing to keep in mind is the next front-end and full-stack bootcamps are happening on October 7th. And then the next one after that is not on that slide, but it's going to be in January. So again, think about it, right? Think about when you want to register, when you want to commit to the time, because we have, I would say, almost a 3 months gap between the 2 deliveries. And so if you're really interested, you probably will not want to miss the one on October 7th. And just so you know, the dates are actually working well so that you can finish the web development fundamentals. That is now on September 9th. And then just a week later, start front-end and full stack, obviously. So obviously some students or some prospect, like maybe some of you online, are like, hey guys, this seems too good to be true. How can this be real? You're so much cheaper than everybody else. Karim explained to you the reasons why, in terms of how we think about it, our business model, the fact that we're in co-working spaces, the fact that our instructors are not full-time but part-time. But of course, one other thing you want to check is what our students are saying about us. And as you've heard, we've been around for a little bit more than 2 years now in Washington State, and we have all the reviews online. Course Report is showcased here and is an independent third-party website. I think our rating actually went up since we printed that slide. And so I just encourage you to check it out. And obviously, you can continue to hear me talk about how good we are. That may not be very fair or realistic. So what we thought we'll do, we have a very short video of 2 minutes that we'd like to share with you. So if you don't mind, I'm going to play that video, just 2 minutes, and stick around, because right after that, we're going to switch to the Q&A, live Q&A. We're seeing your question here from Michael, Ronald. And so we'll go back to those questions and actually answer them online. If you haven't asked your question, please do that during the video as well. That worked just fine. So let's roll the video now. Hold on. Okay. There we go. One more.
I wanted to look at a career opportunity that would be lucrative. And Nucamp kind of popped up, and I liked it a lot more than the other ones. I liked that it was more flexible. I didn't have to like quit my current job.
They're basically very student friendly.
And our instructor is awesome, Minay, and she's just really helpful, like really like above and beyond.
She's very helpful, and every time when I have a question, I can ask her and she can respond. The careers basically has no end. You can grow and grow.
I was really excited. Yeah, in fact, I mean, if anything, I was like wanting to do more.
But I really like the way it's been this hybrid learning process.
I love that. I love that it's during the week, because I wouldn't have been able to do it if I had to meet every single day. So I love that I can find childcare on Saturdays, and the rest of the week it's online. But yeah, sometimes I'm like doing my homework and I get all excited. I'm like, this could be my life. So it's kind of cool.
All right, we're back.
Okay, so let's switch to Q&A. We have our first questions coming in. So Ludo and I will take turns here depending on the topic. Let's get started with Ronald. Do you assist us in finding a job after bootcamp completion? Yeah, we do have some resources and some help for you in terms of preparing you to find a job. We don't offer, I would say, full-blown sort of career counseling. Again, that's part of our, affordability model. We want to keep our costs low, but we have an online course. It's a 6-week course that's part of the curriculum, so you have access to it as part of the price. That will go through, helping you build your resume, helping you with, LinkedIn, also. Some modules on networking, on actually how to engage with interviews. And so just to help you go through that mental preparation of reaching out to employers. We also really benefit from our instructor community. I want to highlight that our instructors are practitioners. They're plugged into the industry. They are for many of them, software developers, whether working a full-time job or independent consultants that work for clients. And so that's very, very useful, very precious in terms of networking, because they are connected in your local community. And so what we found, and that's just feedback from students, is that that's actually a really important resource for them. And it's very different from some other boot camps where the instructors are actually more from academia, right? So they're probably very good in terms of teaching skills, but they're not as plugged in. And their teaching style is also probably more sort of theoretical than our instructors, who are usually very practical in their approach, because they're trying to really transfer sort of the practical knowledge that's required, in an actual job of software development. Let's see, we have. So Michael, if you wouldn't mind just clarifying your question around Springfield, it's definitely one of the locations we're serving. And meanwhile, I'm going to jump on the next question from Shweta is around instructor profiles and just the requirements we have for our instructors. So what happens if you don't like your instructor? So I think I'm sure you spotted, as many others have, that we have a huge diversity in our instructor profiles. We have, again, people that are working in a large tech company, full-time job, others that are, independent consultants, others that just have transitioned from a totally different career into software development. But there's really a rigorous process for selecting them and making sure that they're right instructors. And we have really a two-stage process. We qualify their skills, and the way we do that is by having our senior instructors that have been with us for over a year and a half, that are part of our sort of leadership team, interview them. So we know how good they are and if their skill level is appropriate for teaching. And it actually has a little bit to do with how much web development experience they have, but it's not the most important part. And that goes to the second piece, which is their ability to teach. That's the most important part we test. We test, how they're able to convey complex concepts in a simple, articulate way, especially for people who don't have a coding background, because a computer science teacher in a university might be really good at explaining really complex stuff to students that already have 2 or 3 years of experience, but it's very different when you have a classroom of people who have never touched coding before. So we make sure our instructors are able to adjust to that. And so the last piece that's really important is just their motivation. We want to make sure they care about giving back to their community, to they care about teaching others. They are compensated, but they don't do it for the money. The pay isn't that great, and that's, again, part of our affordability model for you. So if they're teaching, it's because they're excited to teach, they're excited to share, and so their personality, you'll see, is one that's very open and very caring. Now, it does happen that one instructor out of, I don't know, 30 or 40, we have a problem, but that's something we are organized to handle, and so we're able also to switch an instructor if for some reason there's a real problem with the instructor, which in our experience has happened actually twice only in the 2 years we have operated in Washington State. So it's a very rare event. So I hope that covers a little bit of the instructor profile and how we select them and what you can expect.
I'll just add one piece to what you just described. You will have, as a student, an opportunity to rate your instructor on a weekly basis. And that's actually what would trigger us to take any action, either a coaching action with the instructor to make sure that he does better the next time, or like Karim mentioned, actually remove the instructor and replace that instructor with someone else. So every week, we will ask you to really give us the feedback, and we will act upon it. The other thing is, we typically associate one instructor per module. So you would have someone for Bootstrap who's an expert in Bootstrap, but then you would very likely have someone else for React who's an expert in React. And so in a way, you won't get stuck with one instructor for the whole period of the bootcamp, which could be actually good news or bad news if you actually like the instructor. But yeah.
And just in terms of what we're expecting from our instructors, they're rated every week, as Ludo said, from 0 to 5. The minimum bar to be an instructor is 4.2, and they all are above the bar.
Yeah.
So again, I hope that makes you feel a little more comfortable with our instructors. Moving on, let's see.
I'll take the other question that you have, Shrita, on Coursera.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great one. So we did start using Coursera in our curriculum. The philosophy behind I could actually get into if you like. Happy to have a conversation on the side. You can email me. What has happened over the last two years is we've made so many addition and modification to the curriculum that we're actually in the process of replacing it. And so it may happen or may not actually, to be honest with you, for October 9th. The quality is pretty much equivalent, but we feel like we are in a place now, 2 years later, that we are able to actually come up with an alternative. Again, no matter where we are when you start, Coursera or not, the philosophy, actually, I'm going to touch on it a little, is the value that we have to offer you is really in the support and the structure that we have. The fact that we are local, that you have access to a local instructor, that you are part of a student community, that we have actually vetted the curriculum and enhanced it. Content is almost free online. So we're not going to try to recreate a great piece of content, although we are doing it now. But the point was really, you can find great content online. That's not a big differentiator nowadays. Really, the differentiator is the level of support and what are your chances of actually being successful.
Okay, and then Michael, asking a particular question on Springfield. Yeah, we definitely hope to start Springfield. Maybe it's an opportunity here to discuss a little bit how we decide to start in a new city, to also manage a little bit your expectations. As part of our model, and just so we're able to deliver a good experience, we start in new cities when we have 6 students in a class. So if we have less than 6 students, it's not really viable to have the class, and economically for us, it's really hard, especially with such low prices. And then, quite frankly, it's not necessarily the best experience for students anyway to have classes of 2 or 3 or even 4. So we might do it on an exceptional basis, but usually you want to be at more than 6. So if we don't reach 6, what happens is you'll get an email just letting you know, hey, not enough students in the upcoming class. And so we are rolling you over automatically to the next class, which is 5 weeks later, to allow for more students to register. Now, that may or may not work for you. So if it doesn't work for you, which we completely understand, you can just go online and you really have 2 options. You can simply cancel completely and get fully refunded, no questions asked. You don't have to talk to anyone over the phone. You can do that online, and it's done within the day, basically, and you'll get the refund. With our apologies for unfortunately not having enough demand in that city at that time. The other option that we've now implemented is you can actually do the same course online. So we can switch you to a remote workshop format. So it's not a regular online program. It's actually the same program that we have for physical locations. So same progression during the week. You have your dedicated instructor. The only difference is instead of meeting the instructor physically on Saturday morning, you are going to meet him via video conference remotely. And actually, it will be one of our more experienced instructors in Washington State that will handle that. And we have that by time zone. So a very similar experience, except you're doing it from home with a remote instructor. And both options are available. Moving on. So I don't own a computer. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you will want to work on a computer. You will want to make sure that you can install software on the computer. So I'm not sure a computer that you will find at the library will allow you to do that. It may be quite cumbersome. For example, if you have to reinstall the software all the time, if you cannot save the files, I'm not sure that's going to work out. and especially, Devester, given your question number 2, is you will need to have a computer at the workshop. So having a laptop, either PC or Mac, is really a requirement if you want to join our bootcamp. And I would say most bootcamps would actually ask you to do that as well. So look for one. We typically say that any Mac or PC that's 3 years or newer will work. For a PC, anything that costs $500 will work as well. It will be a little bit stressed right at the end of the full stack bootcamp when suddenly you're also running a server. But up to that, you'll have no issue with that type of computer.
Yeah, so the recommendation is, maybe even get borrow a computer maybe for your first web development class for a month if you're not sure you're going to continue. And then once you know that, this is something you want to do and you want to embark on a 6 months program or a front-end program, then yeah, you probably want to think about investing in your own laptop, because it's going to be your best friend for the duration of the program, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah. So yeah, sure. So payment plan, we offer. It's actually our standard policy to have a monthly payment plan for our advanced bootcamp classes. We recognize again that we're trying to make this affordable and accessible to as many people as possible, and the monthly plan is really important to many of you. So that's the default option. So you pay our first payment at registration, a second payment at the start of the first class, and then it's monthly payment of between $315 and $325 depending on the bootcamp. And then refund policy, it's all online, and basically once you start, if for some reason things change for you or you decide this is not for you, the policy is pretty simple. You basically stop paying the remaining of the monthly plan. So anything you paid, we're not refunding, but anything that's still out there, you basically don't have to pay anymore. And then there's a more detailed policy in terms of canceling before the start of the bootcamp that you can check online. Let's see.
Devester, real quick, we don't teach Python at this time. We really focus on JavaScript. That's something we may add in the future, but we don't have that available for you.
So do you guys also come and give guest lectures or support class to take feedback? So we try to be as digital as possible. So typically this open house is digital, is online. We get a lot of feedback from you through the weekly surveys. So the surveys are not just scores. There's actually detailed text comments that we analyze every week. On Monday mornings, we have our session together. We go through the feedback of the previous week and try to see trends and see things we can improve. And then we also have Slack channels that we monitor. So we look at what's going on our Slack channels, see, again, if there are things that we can improve on the instructor side, on our locations, on the way we deliver classes, on the curriculum, et cetera, et cetera. So we definitely spend a lot of time on that. All right.
Michael Grove, you have a question for full stack developer. I need beginner and advanced. So Michael, please clarify if I'm wrong, but I think what you're suggesting is you are really beginning on that journey and you want to become a full stack developer. So indeed, your best path will be to start with web development fundamentals on September 9th for 4 weeks, and then continue on to the full stack bootcamp. And you will have then done the whole curriculum from beginning to end, including the introduction that you will need as a beginner.
Okay. Hey, Jenny, thank you for your comment. Again, we're excited to be opening boot camps across the country, and we realize that many towns and cities where there's just no offering there, or at least no quality offering. So Arthur, you so asking about, hey, what do I do if my community doesn't have enough students? So again, you don't have to do anything for now. You will get an email if there aren't enough students. Actually, you'll get our first email telling you, hey, heads up, we might not have enough students, and then you'll get an email confirming that. And then if you don't do anything, you'll just be rolled over the next session, which is 5 weeks later. And if that's okay for you, then that's it, no action required. If that doesn't work for you, then you do have to take action. We encourage you to take the session online if you can't wait for the next one. And if that doesn't work, then you can definitely cancel if you've decided that that's not going to work for you either. All right.
Michael, so can I learn as good online as in person? Yeah, it's a great question. So the reason why we have those in-person workshops is because we realize that just learning on your own online is challenging. So you can learn online and you can learn very well online. But doing that over the course of 5 months and keeping the rigor and the motivation is really the challenge. And so really Nucamp was designed to address that one problem. So
maybe let me just interrupt here. I want to make sure we're clear on the question. We're talking about traditional online sessions, not the online format that we're offering, which is a little different. Yeah, so let's maybe clarify that. So our online session, which we refer to really more as sort of remote workshops, will be very similar experience to being in a physical classroom. And it will be very different for sure from your traditional sort of online experience, which is you do it on your own rhythm, and then you're sort of, alone as well in terms of finding your motivation.
Yeah, great point. So the whole point of that online experience is to actually take all the advantages that we found in the in-person structure and support, and really bring that over to online, which hasn't really been done before the way we do it.
All right. Thanks, Michael, for your question. Hey, Shweta, so our instructor is available during weekdays. And, if you don't understand certain concepts through the courses during the week, can you reach out to your instructors to get some help, some clarification? Absolutely, yes. That's the whole purpose of having that support during the week. Our instructors are expected to support you on a daily basis. We say they got to respond within 12 to 24 hours because they have a full-time job, so don't expect them to be there immediately. But the reality is a lot of them are very plugged in, and you might have an answer a lot sooner than that. And it depends on what they do. So, some sort of like to go through all of their student interactions in the early morning. And then, during the day, they're not really available. Others will, take a look and answer quick things over lunch or after hours. So it sort of depends on the instructors, but, the expectation, and that's what we're seeing, is that they will help you. They won't let you, be stuck and not able to progress through the curriculum during the week.
I will just add to that our students find very exciting this model for 2 reasons. The first reason is they are part of a small group of 12 students maximum and 1 instructor. So that really provides the level of focus, the support, being able to work with others. But on top of that, what you will realize as a student is you are part of a broader community. And you're actually part of many students that are studying exactly the same curriculum that you're studying at the same time. So in your city, but across the US. And so you will also be able to tap into that broader community of students that are doing exactly what you're doing right now, but other instructors actually that are also teaching their students. And so what I find a little bit amusing and interesting sometimes is you will actually ask the question and you may actually get an answer immediately from a student or another instructor from another community. So you really have that level of support that is very personal, local, but also the broader community of Nucamp student and instructor, and students really appreciate that.
Okay, let's see. Let me scan here. I think we got into the last question we have for now. I'll give you a minute or so to see if you have anything else, and let me go through any other questions if we've missed any. Let's see. No, I don't think so. Okay, well, that's good. Hopefully you got a better understanding of how Nucamp works, what you can expect, and the value you can hope to get out of it.
Oh yes, we missed that one. Thank you, Trita. Yeah, I'll pick it.
Okay.
What if you want to change location in the middle of a program like Seattle to Bellevue or somewhere? You can do that. So we don't recommend you switching in the middle of a module, although you could do it, but you can certainly switch in between modules. You can also switch before your bootcamp starts. And actually, there's one scenario where you may want to do that is if you live, for example, in between two cities and one is starting, the other is not, and you want to move your registration, then you can do that as well. So if you're familiar with Minneapolis and St. Paul, we're in both cities, and sometimes students want to switch between the others. So yeah, you can do that.
Okay, so I think we have questions that we address maybe partially. So we don't give specific sort of RAM speeds and things like that for a computer. Again, our recommendation is simply, get a computer that's maybe 3 years old or less, and that will work fine. I mean, in terms of processing, we might want to maybe give more details.
Yeah, as I said, $500 in the $500 range for a PC laptop typically is what you will look for. So don't take the bottom, of the value PCs. Take kind of an average PC, and that should be just fine.
Yeah, and if you're buying it used, same thing. Look at something that was probably worth when it was new, anywhere between 500 plus. And if it's 2-3 years old, and that's fine. That will work fine.
Yeah.
And then let's see. So help with career placement. So I think we addressed it a little bit. But again, we don't actively help placing. We help you prepare for your job search with an online course that's available, and then you'll have an opportunity to network with our instructors. If you feel you need a more sort of intense preparation, that's something we encourage you to look for in addition. But I would highlight that at the end of the day, those are technical roles. So if you have your skills are at the right level and you've worked hard through the program, and you built your skills and your portfolio, which is really going to be what you're going to be showcasing during those interviews, and you have, I would say, some just decent interview experience, you should be in good shape after this program. And then let's see.
No more questions. So yeah. Shrita, no, we're not in Issaquah. We're hoping to open in Bellevue in September, and we've been in Seattle for the past year.
Okay. Let's just so certification. Yes, absolutely. You do get a certificate when you you complete.
Certificate. That's quite of an important distinction. It's not a certification per se.
Correct.
There's actually no certification for just JavaScript, but we offer a certificate of completion at the end of the program. We actually have two. We have one that is for honor students, and one that is more regular for people who just completed. And to be an honor student, you have to meet certain criteria, one of which is to be able to showcase your project portfolio.
And then software, no, there's no software, paid software that is required as part of the class. So we make sure that every software that is being used is basically free software. Yeah. All right.
There's a job outcome rate. I'll take that one real quick, and then I think you would probably want to complete. The thing that I find actually interesting when we look at the data of our students is, first, not everyone who comes to us is seeking a new career change. And that's probably quite unique, and probably because of our tuition and flexibility. We're affordable and flexible enough that many people who are just interested in learning more about web development or believe that they can improve their current job with more technical skills come to us. And so not all students actually are in there to change careers or find a new job. And so our career placement numbers will be skewed a little bit. Our job outcome rate are definitely skewed because of that original intent. But then I'll let
Yeah,
you
so
comment.
a few other things too is that, so, you know, because most of our students actually already have a job, they're not in the same process as some of the students going into a full-time coding boot camp, you know, with that sort of focus on getting a job just after graduations. Actually, many of our students, you know, take several months to continue to develop their skills, you know, look for the right job. You know, some want to stay in the same community, et cetera, and then get a job later. So that makes it also a little bit more challenging to track things. And then finally, as Ludo said, some just use that as sort of a career enhancement, you know, so people that have been in so around IT, but not with those strong skills, use our program as well. What I will say is that, you know, if you go through the program in a serious way, if you know, complete all of the assignments, do the extra work, spend the time, really absorb the knowledge, and then turn that into something practical through your project, you definitely, you know, will be able to be very competitive in the market for an entry-level job. And the reason is because, I mean, there's just huge demand out there. So if you've got the right skills and the right attitude, there's no reason for you not to get a job. And we've got really good examples. So we're not really good at actually getting the full statistics, but you know, examples such as Aaron, for example, that is one of our instructors today, former student, went through the program, continued to start to do a little bit of projects on the side of his job. Actually started teaching for us after a while because, you know, his skills had developed to the point where, you know, he was really good as an instructor, and then you know, landed a job as a QA tester in a software development company down in Tacoma. But that, you know, was over you know, a period of time. Going forward, you know, we are working to try to track our statistics in a better way, but it's actually pretty hard to do. Okay, I think
I think so, yeah.
we're ready to wrap up. So, hey, I want to thank you all again for spending this hour with us. You know, exciting to see your interest in Nucamp and all your questions. I hope we've answered most. If you find you have another questions, just feel free to shoot it to info@nucamp.co. You know, we're still small enough that we will be reading ourselves most of the questions coming through, and we'll be happy to answer. This session will also be recorded if you want to get back to it at some point. It is recorded, and so you'll have it available through video. We'll send you the link. And then finally, I want to a couple of things. You know, help us by liking liking our Facebook page. Help us by sharing it with friends. Help us also by subscribing to our YouTube channel. That will get us out there, because again, as part of you know, our focus on being affordable, we want to use as much social networks as possible, and as little advertising dollars as possible. And then finally, take advantage of the early bird rate. Don't forget, it expires on Monday for the upcoming Web Development Fundamentals Bootcamp, so don't miss that. So with that, thank you all again.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys have a great day.
Take care.